One breath. I had to meditate the other day, a very deep meditation. I meditate all the time. Everything I do is meditation. When I'm writing, I'm meditating. When I'm talking to you now, I'm meditating. This is prayer to me. This is me. When I say meditate, I mean I'm connecting to essence. When I'm saying prayer, same thing. I'm communing with essence. I'm getting myself aligned before I talk. So I had to meditate the other morning. I normally wake about 4, half 4, 5, and then I'll have I'm in a kind of semi-sleep state anyway, so I'll go into a deep meditation where I find complete silence. On this particular meditation, I was asked, or I have an inner voice, a sub-vocalization that speaks to me, and this voice said, follow the breath. I mean, that's common when people talk about, when they talk about meditation, they always talk about following the breath, but this was even deeper. This was about not just following the breath, but it said follow the breath, immerse yourself into the breath, focus completely on the breath. Go into the molecules of the breath until you are the breath. I know that sounds a bit corny, but until the point where you are aware that you are the breath. And it said when you go into the breath, the breath will speak to you. It will talk to you, which felt a bit weird, but I just thought, well, I'm going to go deeply into the breath. It took a lot of concentration. Meditation takes a lot of concentration. You have to be completely focused. You have to become a very powerful observer. You have to be able to calm the mind down. That's why early morning is good anyway to do it, because the mind hasn't woke up properly. The programs on the mind haven't woke up, so all of the sub-vocalizations, all of the sub-personalities, all the shadows are still dreary. They don't want to get up at that time. So I followed the breath, and then the breath did start to speak to me, but not in words. It didn't speak in sentences and words. It just spoke to me in blocks of understanding. I just suddenly had blocks of understanding. I understood things at a deeper level. So when I went deeply into the breath, I was aware that the breath was talking to me. It was communicating with me, and I realized that there is only one breath. That was the word I heard, or the words I heard. One breath, and it permeates everything. And I looked at my wife in bed. She was asleep next to me, and I realized that she was I realized that this one breath didn't just, it permeated everything. It permeated everything we eat, everything we drink, everything we see, everything we hear, everything in the manifest universe. But everybody was a different expression. That was the word I was looking for. Everyone was a different expression of the same breath. So I looked at my wife, and she was an expression of the same breath. I hope this doesn't sound too weird. I found it very profound. So I realized that there is only one breath. We all come from the same clay, but there's only one breath, and that we are that breath. So when I looked at it, it said, and I was able to, again, it wasn't words, it was just blocks of understanding. I realized that I was the one breath. I was the one breath. You know when people say, oh, we're just like drops of water that fall into the ocean, and we merge with the ocean, and we become one with the ocean. We become a part of the great ocean. I've heard that a lot of times before, but that's not what this was. When I recognized that I was the one breath, that I wasn't a part of the one breath that permeates all. I was the one breath. So I wasn't a part of God. I was God. The same as I looked at my wife and I recognized that she wasn't a part of the breath. She was the breath. She wasn't a part of God. She was God. So it was everybody. Intellectually, it doesn't make much sense. It's a bit confusing because you're thinking, well, how can everybody be the one breath? How can everybody individually be God, and whatever God is. I mean, I see God as omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-seeing, all-knowing, all-doing, one, absolute, the one breath. And that was the most intriguing part of it. Everything else was just an expression of the one breath. Everything else was just an expression of me. And then you come out of the meditation, of course, and where does that leave you? But it certainly leaves you not worrying about things quite so much, and not being too concerned about, criticism, or too concerned about money, or too concerned about health, or too concerned about the world, or the way the world is. Because I recognised that everything was just fine. Actually, everything was good. Every manifest expression of the breath eventually falls back into the breath and becomes the breath again. So in my meditation, I could actually see it. It was an intellectual vision, but I could see this breath permeating everything. I was in the centre of everything. So I know scientifically, I think we're something like 99.9% space. I could feel that space going through me. I could feel that I was the space, and that this was a temporary form filled with the space, same as my wife was, same as this table was, same as this camera was. Everything was, a manifestation of the one breath. And that we are, not that we're attached to it all, that we are it all. Everybody is. I know this is, I'm saying this, it's all sounding weird as I'm saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway because it was very profound. So it was saying that, we don't have to search for a deity outside of us. We don't actually have to search for a God outside of us, or a guru outside of us. We have to search for that inside of us. We have to recognise that we are the guru, we are the prophet, we are the Jesus, we are the Christ, we are the Arjuna, we are the Krishna, we are the Jain. We've got to realise that it's us, it's in us. Which is really exciting, because then you start thinking, well, every time I read a book, I'm recognising at some level that I've written that book. So there's an old saying, everyone that reads the Quran writes the Quran. I was talking to my friend Deep the other day. There's a lad that I've been mentoring, he's a friend of mine, and he got really emotional when he started talking about the fact that he picked up a copy of I think it was a copy of the Guru Granth Sahib, which was the Sikh Bible. But he said he picked it up and was reading it, and was aware when he read it that there was some lines he read that weren't there before. And he was nearly crying, he was so emotional. He said, I know those lines weren't there before. They actually appeared to him because he needed to hear them. They appeared to him because he needed to read them. And I find that all the time. I find that books appear, articles appear, films appear, conversations appear, radio shows appear. Things appear when I need to hear them, when I need to see them. So we start to realise that it's already in us. We just have to expand ourselves, expand our conscious net in order to be able to access it. So everybody is the one breath, and that one breath permeates everything. And when you realise that, you start feeling very grateful for... I could see that this one breath went through my strawberries that I eat in the morning. I have fruit for breakfast. It went through all of my fruit. So that one breath, God was in all of my fruit. It was in my yogurt. It was in... I sprinkle seeds on my fruit. I like seeds with oil in them. I recognise that one breath was in that. I recognise that the one breath was in the trees. It was in these bricks around my house. It was in every single thing. It made me want to celebrate and worship everything. That idea that my dad used to make us, when we'd finished our dinner, he used to make us keep our knife and fork together as respect to the knife and fork. Put them in alignment like that after you finished eating. Don't just leave them sprawled out. It was just a discipline thing that he'd learnt from the army. But I understood it. It was respecting the tools. It was respecting the body. It was respecting other people's tools, other people's body. It was respecting our house. It was respecting, this infrastructure. It's respecting the train you get on in the morning, or the bus, or the car. It was respecting the equipment I'm using here. It was respecting everything. It was suddenly going from, a concept of, people have a concept of no God, then they have a concept of, maybe there is a God, or there is only one God. People say there is only one God, and of course there is only one God. But it's got about 500 names. To suddenly realising that fucking everything is God. Everything is God. Everything. There is nothing that isn't God. So people have this idea that this is good, this is bad. I've got lots of friends who are fucking terrified of money. They're angry about money. I've got other friends who are angry about when I swear on here. If I swear on here, somehow, that's disrespectful, or somehow that word shouldn't be in a place like this. It shouldn't be in a DVD or a video, a podcast about spirituality. But it's God. It's all God. Everything. There is nothing that's not God. There is nothing that isn't permeated by the one breath. So I always say to people, whatever it brings up for you, if you've got a pilot like that comes up about money and you're angry about money, whatever it brings up for you, if you're angry because I swear, whatever it brings up for you, it's nothing to do with me, that's yours to deal with. So then I'm your teacher. So I recognise that this is one of the things that Krishna talks about. He says you've got to, if you have an infinite block of gold and you break that down and you send jewellery pieces and pieces of gold coin all around the world, he said each of those pieces of gold in their different forms, in their different shapes, maybe there's a statue, maybe there's a gold gate, maybe there's a ring, maybe there's a necklace, maybe there's different forms of that gold. He said it all comes from the same block. So you can't send one piece to the other side of the world and then suddenly say that's not God, or that's good and that's bad. It's all the same. It's all from the same place. Everything comes from the same place. So money can't be good or bad, and swearing can't be good or bad. It's just sound, So everything is permeated by the one breath, and you are the one breath. So everything you see around you is an extension of you, is like your ectoskeleton. It's like just all of it is just extensions of you. So I just find that really fascinating, that we get caught up with this whole idea of separation, that there are us and them. There's a separation between me and what I want to get. There's a separation perhaps between me and health, between me and wealth, between me and relationship. There's a separation between me and the world. There's a separation between black and white. There's a separation between rich and poor. There is no separation. Separation is an illusion. It's a perception. What I practice, what I teach when I do my courses, is I teach the dissolution of separation. Separation is a perception. There is a perception that we're separated from something. If we can change that perception and get into the same state as the thing that we want to achieve or have. If we have a separation between us and money, we can't make money. That separation is an illusion. So the key then is to find a way to dissolve that separation. That separation will be a belief or a fear. Fear is a belief. That separation will be a chunk of energy that's standing between you and money. If you're separated from good health, then if you can get to a level where you can change your perception of that, you can change your health. If you have a feeling that you're separated from relationship, from having the right relationships, the same thing. If you can change your beliefs, if you can change your perceptions, your cognitions, and then this is not easy to do, but if you can do that, you can dissolve that separation. So at a base level, there's no separation. There's no separation between everything. At the substratum, at the very base of it, there is no separation. There's an illusion of separation. But when I meet people who are rich and poor, black and white, different faiths, I don't see separation. I just see one breath sweeping through everything. and it's very beautiful. But that really opens me up to potential. If I believe in separation, it means I've limited myself. If there's rich and poor, then I'm separated from the knowledge I can get from working with people who are physically wealthy. If I believe in separation between race or colour or religion, then it automatically bars me from accessing the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita. If I believe there's a separation in colour, it means I can't access that cultural diversity and learn something amazing from a completely different culture. So for me, I don't see a separation, and if a separation comes up, if I feel a separation, if I feel a pilot light of separation, then my job is to observe that and contemplate that and dissolve that until the separation has gone. And that work, I mean, it's difficult to do because it takes a lot of self-knowing and it takes a lot of self-discipline and it takes a lot of courage, because where people are comfortable with their separation. It's comfortable, isn't it, to think that the rich and the poor, there's a divide between the rich and the poor. That's a comfortable thing to believe. We can attack that. We can say if it wasn't for them, they've got more money, which means we've got less, which is not true. Money doesn't even exist. Money is just an exchange of energy, and you've got access to the same energy as anybody else. Money is just a ledger that just keeps count. It just keeps count of who's exchanged what energy and at what level. But if a lot of people are comfortable with believing that that there's a rich and a poor. They're comfortable with that idea, so they're afraid to let go of that, because that means they'll be uncomfortable. Because if I can't shake my fist at the rich people and blame them, then I'm going to have to get off my own arse and do something. I'm going to have to start looking at why I'm not earning money, or whatever that reason is. And these beliefs are very powerful. I'm not underestimating them, and I'm not belittling them. I've had exactly the same beliefs. When I was stuck in a factory, it was my ex-wife's fault. It was, it was the government's fault. It was, my school's fault. It was the managers at the factory's fault. It was the foreman's fault. It was anybody's fault but mine. My world was so small. I couldn't even hardly conceive of anything outside of it. Everything felt separate to me. People on the television, celebrities, entrepreneurs, business people, they felt separate to me. It felt like us and them. It was okay for them. But having been in that world and having mixed with celebrities and rich people and poor people and people from every genre, I know there's no separation, there's no difference. There's just different beliefs. So for me, it's about challenging my old beliefs, recognizing that one breath sweeps through everything. Everything is just a different facet of the same breath, of the same God, and it's you. And it's you. Now that you know that, what are you going to do with it? That's what I ask myself. What are you going to do with that? It's you. You know that you are the one breath, and that one breath permeates through everything. It makes me very grateful to be alive, and it makes me want to really experience my time in this body and take it out for a ride and see what I can do with it, see what I can experience with it. But I'll tell you one thing for definite, there is no us and them. I don't see that separation. You might look at Buckingham Palace and think us and them, but what is it? It's just another building that partitions off space that people sleep and eat in. But the space is everywhere. I've got this house, I'm sitting in this house now. You might say it was a big house because it's got 4 bedrooms or whatever. But it's basically, even this house is limiting to me because it's putting walls around infinite space. Even a house is limiting. So it's not, to have a palace where you've got massive rooms, it makes no difference if the room's 20 foot high and really wide and you've got servants and and all that kind of stuff. It makes no difference. You're still only occupying space. You're still occupying space, and it's surrounded by walls or closed in by walls. That palace could just as easily be a prison. For someone like me and you, it might be a prison, because we might not want to be sat in a palace and having to do all of those duties every single day. We couldn't just walk, you can't just walk down and get a bag of chips or go out and have a pint, or you just couldn't do that. You know, there isn't the kind of freedom that we've got to be able to just walk out. And again, even that's a perception, even that's a belief. If they wanted to, they could, but you know, they will feel as though they're locked into that servitude. So this one breath is infinite, and it permeates everything, and it's us. We are it. We are the one breath. I hope that I'm going to end on that, because I'm aware that I'm starting to repeat. I'm starting to repeat one breath. I'm trying to articulate how profound it was, and how free you are in the world, how blessed you are, how abundant you are, and that anything that tells you you're not is a perception, and that perception can be changed. It can be worked on. You can dissolve that. Just remember, there's one breath, and you are it.